Well, good morning and welcome to episode 21 of the Anno Domini podcast. This podcast that is aimed at you to bless you here in the local level where I live, the city that embraced me and my family 8 years ago, Midland, Texas, and of course, our sister city, Odessa and Andrews, and all of the surrounding cities that have been somehow exposed to these contents. So yesterday we had our 4th of July event here, and the plan was, my plan was to do it live, do the episode 21 yesterday live from the Highway 191 cross, where we had from 7 to 8 a.m. the public reading of the Declaration of Independence, U.S. Declaration of Independence. Sixth year in a row. So for 6 years, we are now having this tradition. And what was exciting about yesterday was that it was the greatest amount of people, or the highest amount of folks that we had ever. I think one of the year that we had a lot of folks was at the Hogan Park. I think the second public reading, we had more people than yesterday, or at least close to that. But anyways, it was so exciting because we had special guests yesterday. The Mayflower Church members, if you don't know about the Mayflower Church, they were rescued from China, from the communist persecution in China, and brought here to our area. And they were there, and not all of them, not all 67 of them, but many of them were there. And as I'm going to show you some of the pictures, two of them were able to read the Declaration of Independence, already reading in English. So, which means that they are very up to date and speeding up their learning of the English language. It was amazing. So, I wanted to do a recap on everything we did yesterday. The first thing that I started, as I was starting and opening, before we opened in prayer, and with the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance, I showed them a couple of the books that I have been reading lately, and I want to show you those books and talk a little bit about them to show you how crucial a time this is, how an important, how a water dividing moment we have right now in the history of the United States of America. So I showed them this book first, Life in the Negative World. Pastor Rand talks about the difference that we have today between what America was founded upon, meaning Christian principles and values. He calls positive world from the foundation of the country. And even before that, 400 years ago, when our forefathers arrived here, and they came, as we saw extensively last week in our show on the covenant, they came to establish a covenant with God, which they did. And everything that was related or is related to government 150 years later, in 1776 and then 1789 with the Constitution, it all had to do with the idea that God would be the God of this nation, or was the God of this nation, and his principles and his kingdom should decide and define the belief systems of the country, but especially of government. So he says that from the beginning, from the foundation of the country, the nation, until close to near the assassination of JFK in the 60s, America lived what he called, or he calls, positive world. From that moment in time, 1962, 1963, until the Obama years, especially 2014, when Obergefell was decided by the Supreme Court, meaning the decision on the same-sex marriage. It says that from 1962, 63 until 2012, 2014, that was neutral world. So Christianity was not the most important thing anymore. In the past, before that, if you are a Christian or if you were a Christian and you are applying for a job in the positive world, you are going to be hired. No question about it. If you are, let's say, running against, if your application comes together with an application from a non-Christian person, you would pick the job. Why? Because Christians were highly honored and recognized as people that would follow the law, not steal, not lie, be honest, and all of that. So now, between 1962 and 2012, we have neutral world. But he says that after Obergefell in 2014, after the Supreme Court decision, until now, we have what he calls the negative world. And he says now in negative world, being a Christian is a negative. It's not positive. It is the opposite of everything. Being a Christian now is not an asset anymore. Being a Christian now is going to bring you a lot of troubles. It's going to bring you persecution. Being a Christian right now is, as he says, living in the book of Acts again, when the first Christians, our brothers and sisters, were heavily persecuted for what they believed as followers of Christ. And the book shows it so profoundly how truthful this is. And again, as I said before, this is a book that I am going to be bringing to one of our podcasts in the future, because it really explains a lot, but especially it shows us a pathway of how we should live now that we're living in a negative world, what our lifestyle should be like, what type of courage it is needed from us in this moment of in time. So that is Life in the Negative World. Another book that I showed them was, and I showed this one before, The End of the World is Just the Beginning. And in this book, the writer, Peter Zion, talks about the end of the influence of America in the globalization, or a globalized world. He is saying in the book that beginning in 2030, next decade, America is going to be looking so much more into herself, nationalistically speaking, not anymore supplying the demands of the entirety of the world, not anymore stopping sending money to across the country, the globe, not helping other nations. Nations will have to help themselves, because according to what he says, the end of this process that started with Second World War, World War II, that America was the police of the world. Actually, he calls America the Coast Guard of the world, because America pretty much secured trade among nations by securing international waters. He says this is out of the table right now. This is coming to an end. So he's talking about the end of globalization by the removal of America from the chessboard of the entirety of the world. Another book, and actually there are two books with the same, I don't even know how that is possible, but again, two books with the same name, The Decline and Fall of the American Republic, one by Bruce Ackerman, the other one by Durwood White. So all of these books I've been showing you, and I showed you yesterday, it talks about this new moment that we're living here as a country. This is a moment of decline and fall of the American Republic. And we need to learn how to adapt to this new moment, because America is not going to endure as an empire of the world, as Rome did not endure for many years after everything that happened in ground zero, meaning AD 0, and the years of Jesus, the years of the disciples. Rome fell centuries later. And we yesterday celebrated the 248th anniversary of this country, at least of the Declaration of Independence. And now we're very close to 250. And if you remember that I mentioned this before, a Scottish writer, Alexander Tytler, in 1750 said in a book, again, he was not a Christian, just a historian, that the most powerful empires of the world, their lifespan in terms of reaching the apex was 250 years. And we are right there as a nation, as the United States of America. And this is what I have been reading a lot, studying a lot, because I want to be prepared, and I want to prepare as many people as I can, not only through the podcast, but through whatever tool the Lord allows me to have. Another one from, this is a Pastor Phil Hodson Pillar. It's Midnight in America. He says a subtitle, Confront Fear and Embrace Courage as the Final Hour Approaches. And he is talking, he's a premillennialist, he's talking about the final hour of human history on the planet, which I don't believe. I believe it's just the final hour of the United States of America as a country. But anyways, we're going to be studying that book as well. This one I mentioned many times, Pastor Mark Stelter, Post-Christian Nation, the Secular Indoctrination of America. And you see that everything is post-America, post-Christian, midnight, decline and fall. This one is The Post-American World by Fareed Zechariah. He is not a Christian, but he is an economist, and he's been thinking, he's a philosopher, if I'm not mistaken. He's been thinking deep about the United States of America and its role in the world. And the last one is called The Storm Before the Calm. And I left this one for last. It says America's Discord, the Crisis of the 2020s, and the Triumph Beyond. What this guy is saying is pretty much what Peter Zion is saying, and some others. They're saying, well, yes, we are going to face a deep crisis right now, as America was or lived, experienced crisis in the past. But he says we will survive. America will be a lot different, but we will come back. Perhaps not as the leading country of the world again, but America will come back somehow. So this is why it's called The Storm Before the Calm. We are in the storm right now, and probably this storm is going to last between now and November, and again up to 2028, 2030. There was another writer he wrote an article a couple of months ago. He said it was Peter Zion, the writer of The End of Globalization. He says the defining election in America is not going to be 2024. Yes, 2024 is going to be very, very crucial, but the one that will define what America is going to be in the next 3 or 4 or 5 decades is going to be 2028. So he explains his case here, and the factors and the justifications, the reasons for him to say that. So that was the beginning of how we started yesterday. I wanted to show the group that was about to read the Declaration of Independence that probably right now we are in a moment of a new Declaration of Independence, not a revolution, the crude, raw revolution, but a revolution of mind, a revolution of spirit, a change and a metamorphosis of the country. America is not going to be the same after November this year. Whatever happens between now and November, we all know, or at least we should know, that America is going to be different after November, and to start the year 2025 of our Lord, Anno Domini. So with that, I would like to also show you a couple of pictures that were taken yesterday by my beautiful wife, just to show you a sense of what we lived yesterday. That was the first picture that she took. This was the moment when we got there. It was just her and myself just sitting everything up, sound system, microphone, and the podium and everything. And by the way, we did not have electricity later. Everything was working fine. And all of a sudden, the electricity was cut. I don't know why that happened, because I tested it this week twice. And then when we got there, everything was working. And all of a sudden, it did not work anymore. So this is the first picture, sunrise. People were just starting to arrive. And it was great. This is the folks that were there. I mean, young, old, and everything in between. Each one brought their folding chairs or their lawn chairs and just getting ready. And there you see the Chinese Mayflower Church standing in the back. So this is one we had already started the reading. This is our youngest guy. He was last year. Let me think. I think it was the Constitution. When we were reading the Constitution last year, September 17th, he was there at the Odessa Mall, and he reads, I mean, amazingly. His reading skill is amazing. And again, it was so sad because the wind was so strong, and his voice, he started loud, and his grandmother would say louder, but he was, just toning it down and down and down. But it was great. He was there. He was having a lot of fun. He learned a lot, and we learned a lot from his patriotism as well. Sister Neville. So several of the people, our folks that proceeded to the reading. Sister Connie Burns, Mr. Gunnell. He is a Connell or Connell. I'm sorry, brother, that I'm butchering your name. Mr. Greg is better. So here he is. He is one of the council members in Odessa. And here we have one of the Chinese ladies, Miss Beth Feng, and she proceeded to the reading of one of the paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence. This is a young lady from China, and she learned English here. I think she started learning there, but this is here after being here for more than a year now. She's fluent in English right now, at least in the reading skill. So here's the group. We use the parking lot instead of parking our cars there, because there is now a new parking lot by the old parking lot. Miss Cassandra. So here you have general pictures of everybody. And then at the end, we prayed for America. This is a couple of elders from Kingdom's Gate Church in Andrews, Kyle and Melissa. They prayed for America. This is Jennifer. You see her here on your right side with her hands lifted high. She was singing a song of blessing to the nation as we were in a moment of prayer for the country and for the nation as a whole, the people. And this is a picture of all of the Chinese Mayflower Church members that were there. They're living here among us right now. They've been blessing us. You see that they already are multiplying here. You see the baby there. I think this is one of the babies that was born here already. And this is the family. This family, I gave them this flag. I was looking at them and they were taking pictures with the flag. And then I gave them the flag. They were like so happy, especially the boy. And he was waving the American flag. And I was so glad that we could do that. They took it as a souvenir back home. So I was donning this t-shirt. A black one, meaning this is a moment of mourning in the country. We need to be repenting. We need to be praying and allowing the Holy Spirit to break our hearts for the things that break God's heart. So it was an amazing moment, an amazing time of communion, of fellowship between believers, not only Americans and Brazilians, but now we had Chinese Christians also. We did not have any translator there for them, or else I would have asked one of them to pray in Chinese for them to be translated into English. I should have at least, I thought of that later. I should have asked them to pray even in their own language without translation, because the Holy Spirit is the same. And I'm sure that he would have heard that prayer. But again, it's just passed. And I also forgot a group picture in the end anyways. But it was fun. It was amazing. I just wanted to give you a recap of all of that and to show you that we are active here in the local level. We are very, very engaged in everything that has been happening. And whatever happens, guys, this is my final word for you, as it was my final word for them yesterday. Whatever happens between now and November, and all of us know that something is coming, the best position for us to sustain, support, and bless each other is in the local level. So, as I said before, I'll say it again. Do not be satisfied with only having your friend's cell phone number. Know where they live. Know where the elderly live. Those among us and our closest friends that, are older and would not have much resources or many resources. If whatever happens, a crisis that we are somehow expecting, especially if it is worse than we are thinking and imagining and expecting, we should know where we live, where everybody lives, or at least those people that we can somehow be of help. And let us allow ourselves to be of blessings to these people. Let us allow the Lord to use us to support, to sustain, to shelter if necessary be, because whatever happens between now and November, we have our own, meaning each one of us, we have to hold each other up. And all of us should trust the Lord as we never did before. So September 11, I was thinking about this as I was driving back home yesterday. September 11 was a surprise, right? Everybody was shocked. This time we have abundant alerts out there already telling us that something is coming. So if the Lord allows that to happen, let us stand for each other here in the local level, and let us be the community the Lord planned for us to be. So may the Lord bless you. Have a blessed weekend. I hope your family was blessed yesterday. I know that the rain spoiled a lot of the fun yet last night, especially the fireworks. By the way, in Odessa, they're going to have the fireworks at 10 p.m. tonight. It was just postponed from last night. Jassy and I, celebrating the 4th of July with a very dear friend, family that are friends of ours for 8 years now. They were the family that hosted us here in their home for 1 year, the first year when we got here in 2016. So we had a blessed day, and I hope that you had a blessed day with your family as well. Allow the Lord to minister to you and through you today. Have a blessed weekend, and I see you on Monday for episode 22 of the Anno Domini podcast. God bless you.